Welcome to my channel. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe and like. The sky of Klyros burned green, venomous as a serpent's bite, as if the stars had melted, pouring down as liquid fire. The wind howled, carrying metallic dust that clawed at Ethan Holt's goggles, making them shudder with each gust. Sweat soaked his worn leather jacket, a relic of a pilot from the United Fleet, back when humanity dared to defy the cosmos. Now, he was just a survivor, trudging across the cracked earth of the shattered rift. The open-air market ahead was a chaotic sprawl, crooked stalls, the stench of burning oil mingling with artificial breath. "Last discount!" a smuggler bellowed, voice rasping through a filter. "Power cores, air purifiers, buy before the firestorm hits!" Ethan didn't answer. Here, survival was the only currency, and he had nothing to trade but time. He paused, fingers brushing a model warship, Starfall, its silver paint peeling, nose broken, a mirror of himself after countless battles. 10 credits, the old vendor grumbled, her cybernetic eye flashing red under a hood. "It doesn't fly," Ethan said, voice low as the desert. "Nothing flies anymore," she sneered, steel teeth glinting with the sky's toxic green. He turned to leave, but his vision trembled. A silver thread of light, thin as a blade, blazed in his mind. It had saved him through blood-soaked battles, where comrades fell like dust. A gift, or a curse, it let him see the cracks in fate, choices between life and death. Today, it burned brighter than ever. Dropping the model, he followed the light, weaving through the crowd, distorted faces, whirring mechanical arms, curses in every tongue. The mob was chaos, but the silver light cut through, guiding him to her. Liora Kadeen, a flame amid ashes. Her pale blue skin, smooth as jade, reflected the toxic sky into an unreal beauty. Black hair flowed long, absorbing light like a black hole. Golden eyes, sharp as knives, scanned the crowd with the wariness of the hunted. Her skin-tight suit, self-regenerating material, screamed Highborn, the elite who lived on orbital stations where the air was still clean. But her gaze, fierce and panicked, said she was lost on Klyros, where death was a constant companion. Ethan stopped, heart racing. Not because she was beautiful, though she could stop anyone dead, but because the silver light thrummed violently. He scanned the crowd, spotting them, 3 shadows, moving like ghosts. Not bandits, but assassins. Tattered cloaks for disguise, but Ethan knew their stance, shoulders low, hands near weapons, eyes locked on Liora. They formed a perfect triangle, ready to kill. The silver light branched. 1. Walk away, 99% survival. She dies, Klyros swallows her secrets. 2. Confront them, 35% survival. Laser bolts find him before she can run. 3. Save her. Odds unclear, but the silver light blazed, as if the universe commanded it. "Damn it!" Ethan muttered, feet surging forward. The first assassin, a tall man with a mechanical arm, drew a laser pistol, its barrel glowing red. Ethan counted 3 seconds. 2. 1. "Get down!" he roared, shoulders slamming into Liora. They hit the ground, her body light beneath his weight. A laser bolt screamed past, igniting a nearby fuel drum. Boom! The explosion shook the market, green flames erupting, black smoke billowing. Screams tore the air, the crowd stampeding in panic. Ethan yanked Liora up, pressing her to his chest, shielding her as a second bolt sliced through, collapsing a stall. The acrid stench of burning plastic stung his nose. "Run or die," he said, voice sharp as a blade. Liora glared, golden eyes flashing defiance, but she kicked off her expensive boots, bare feet hitting the filthy ground. She nodded, silent. They plunged through the panicked mob, weaving between colliding bodies, curses, and clanging metal. Laser winds chased them, each shot a heartbeat of death. Ethan felt the silver light guide them, pulling them through a turn, dodging a bolt that scorched a wall black. The shattered ruins of the rift loomed, skeletal remains of a dead world. They ran, ragged breaths blending with the howling wind. Ethan glanced at Liora, seeing her match his pace, though her body wasn't forged for such flight. Something, resolve, or fear, drove her forward. "Who wants you dead?" he asked, voice clipped. She didn't answer, only gripped his hand, as if afraid he'd let go. Another explosion roared closer, the ground quaking. Ethan pulled her behind a pile of metal crates, shielding her as debris flew. The silver light pulsed. Assassins were tightening the noose. They pressed into a dark alley, breaths heaving, hearts pounding like drums. Liora trembled, but her eyes stayed sharp. "They won't quit," she whispered, voice low, resolute. Ethan smirked, not a smile, but acknowledgement. "Neither will we." He checked the alley, the silver light mapping a labyrinthine path. But a figure appeared at the entrance, not an assassin, but Cora, his former squad mate. Cropped red hair, scarred face, she held a laser pistol, eyes cold as ice. "Holt," she rasped. "Still alive, huh? But running with a highborn? Fatal mistake." Ethan tensed, the silver light flashing, revealing a tracker on Cora's gear. "Cora, it's not what you think." "I know she's got a pass," Cora snapped, glaring at Liora. "And I want it." Liora squeezed Ethan's hand, whispering, "She's with them." The silver light confirmed it. Cora wasn't just an old friend, she was a traitor, the one who sold out their squad in the fleet's final battle. He lunged, disarming her with a swift strike, but her tracker blinked red, signaling before he smashed it. "They know we're here," Ethan said, pulling Liora deeper into the alley. "Cora's not alone." The alley led through twisted steel frames, darkness swallowing the green light. Assassin footsteps echoed, closing in. Ethan felt the silver light thrum, but it began to fade, a sign he was pushing its limits. Liora panted, but didn't slow. "You do this often?" she asked, a hint of sarcasm in her voice. "Only for trouble as pretty as you." Ethan shot back, voice dry. She huffed, but her lips twitched upward. A laser bolt seared a wall, and Ethan yanked her aside, shards grazing his shoulder, pain flaring. They dove into a maintenance tunnel, dust and cobwebs clinging to Liora's gleaming suit. He pressed them against the wall, hearing assassins approach. "What do they want so badly?" he asked. Liora touched her neck, where a metallic band gleamed, a pass to Haven Station. "This," she said, eyes distant. "And what it means?" Ethan frowned, the silver light dimming. "Stay alive first, explain later," he said, pulling her into the dark, where fate still hung undecided. The narrow alley swallowed them, rusted crates rising like walls of a dead world. The silver light flared in Ethan Holt's mind, guiding them through a maze of shadows. A laser bolt slashed past, scorching a wall as they veered left, the stench of burnt metal stinging their noses. Liora stumbled slightly, but her steps held firm, surprisingly swift. "Who are you?" she asked, voice trembling but sharp, cutting through fear like a blade. "The guy saving your life," Ethan replied, pulling her from another shot. A bolt grazed his shoulder, leaving a searing burn. They plunged into a maintenance tunnel, darkness devouring Klyros' toxic green glow. Dust and cobwebs coated Liora's shimmering suit, turning it into a relic of a lost luxury. Ethan pressed them against the wall, his breathing steady, unlike her ragged gasps. Assassin footsteps echoed distantly, but the silver light pulsed. They hadn't given up. "Lost them," Liora whispered, golden eyes scanning him, like a bioscanner seeking truth. "You're human. Any doubts?" Ethan shrugged, voice dry. "But you move like you know where the bolts will land." She stood taller, regaining composure with startling speed, as if the dark couldn't touch her. Ethan smirked, not quite a smile. "Just lucky." "No," she said, eyes locking onto his. "You're awakened. A pathfinder." The words hit Ethan like a laser bolt. He froze, memories of battles, comrades falling, the silver light guiding him through death, flooding back. "And you're a highborn," he growled softly. "This place doesn't welcome your kind." Silence stretched taut as a wire. Then Liora smiled, a spark in the dark, briefly throwing Ethan off balance. "I'm Liora Kadeen," she said, offering her hand, as if they were at a gala on an orbital station, not in Klyros' crypt. Ethan ignored it, eyes scanning the exit, where shadows thicken like ink. You shouldn't be here. The firestorm will swallow this place in 36 hours. I know the clock. Liora replied, voice cooling, forged in ice. So, are you mad or stupid? Ethan asked, unrelenting. Neither helps you live long. Liora touched her neck, where a metallic band gleamed faintly. A pass to Haven Station, the last safe refuge in a crumbling universe. Ethan narrowed his eyes, pieces clicking into place. The pass, he said. That's why they're hunting you. Liora nodded, eyes distant, as if peering through him into a thorny past. Not for me. For my sister, Mira. She's infected with grey dust. Ethan frowned. Grey dust was a death sentence, bodies crumbling to metallic ash from within, cells shattering like sand. He'd seen squad mates die that way, screaming as their bones dissolved. You're running to save her, he said, voice softer. I'm running to save what's left of my family, she corrected, voice sharp as a blade, slicing through the dark. Ethan glanced outside, the silver light pointing a path, but it wavered, as if fate hesitated. 3 assassins, military-grade weapons, he said. They're not robbing. They're hunting you. Why help me? Liora asked, eyes narrowing, suspicious. Ethan wished he had a clearer answer than. The silver light told me to. What was he, a drifter scraping by, or a fool caught in someone else's mess? Moment of impulse, he said, voice dry. Savor it, it's rare. Liora huffed, almost a laugh. I don't need your pity. Good, Ethan shot back. I've got none to give. They moved deeper into the tunnel, steps silent on cracked stone. The silver light guided them through the maze, but with each step, Ethan felt the pressure mount. Assassins weren't far, and time was slipping. The tunnel was damp and cold, walls stained with rust, severed cables spilling out like veins of a dead machine. Dripping from the ceiling echoed, blending with Ethan's heartbeat. Liora stayed close, her breathing slowing, but her hand gripped the band on her neck, as if it anchored her from a fall. Ethan glanced at her, seeing conflict in those golden eyes, fear, but also steel. You know who they are, he said, not a question. Council assassins, she replied, voice low. They want the pass, and everything tied to it. Ethan frowned. Everything? She didn't answer, only quickened her pace, as if the dark could swallow the question. A sound rang out, metal scraping stone, sharp as a whetted blade. Ethan signaled a halt, pressing Liora against the wall. The silver light flashed, revealing a figure at the exit, not an assassin. Cora, his old squadmate, stepped into view. Cropped red hair, scarred face, eyes cold as ice. Her laser pistol glowed, ready to kill. Holt, she rasped, voice like desert wind. Heard you were alive. But running with a highborn? Deadly mistake. Ethan tensed, the silver light pulsing, spotting a hidden tracker under Cora's gear. Cora, it's not what you think, he said, hand ready. I know she's got a pass, Cora snapped, eyes fixed on Liora. And I want it. Liora gripped Ethan's hand, whispering. She's linked to them. The silver light confirmed it, but showed something worse. Cora didn't just want the pass. She was a traitor, the one who betrayed their squad in the fleet's final battle, leaving thousands to die in fire and vacuum. Old pains surged, but Ethan crushed it down. What did you sell us out for, Cora? He growled, voice low, dangerous. Credits? Or just the smell of blood? Cora laughed, a dry rasp, pistol aimed. Survival, Holt. You should have learned it. Ethan lunged, the silver light guiding him. He dodged a laser bolt, slamming his fist into Cora's wrist, sending her gun clattering. She countered, a dagger flashing, but he locked her arm, pinning her to the ground. Her tracker blinked red, signaling before Ethan smashed it. They know we're here, he said, pulling Liora to run. Cora's not alone. Someone bigger's behind this. Liora panted, but her eyes blazed, as if the dark made her stronger. Who? She asked. Ethan didn't answer, the silver light fading, signaling new danger. The tunnel shook, assassin footsteps echoing closer. "Run," he said, pulling her into the dark, where fate still refused to release them. The tunnel opened into an old maintenance bay, massive machines standing silent like steel tombs, darkness swallowing Klyros' toxic green glow. Ethan Holt led Liora Kadeen through severed cables, steps silent on cracked stone. He pushed her into a control room, its shattered window overlooking a dust-covered factory floor. Torn seats, dead consoles, the air thick with burnt metal. "Safe for now," Ethan said, checking the steel door, hands clenched as if ready to punch through it. Liora sank down, adrenaline fading, hands trembling as she removed the band from her neck. A pass to Haven Station, its faint shimmer like a lost star. "First-class ticket," Ethan remarked, voice dry. "No wonder they're hunting you like dogs." "It's not mine," Liora confessed, eyes lowered, voice soft as if afraid the dark might hear. "Mira sent me to get it from the family vault. She's infected with gray dust, too sick to go herself." Ethan tensed, memories of gray dust rising, squad mates crumbling to dust, bones dissolving like sand, screaming in agony. "Infection's a death sentence," he said. "If Haven's council finds out, they'll wipe out your whole family." Liora nodded, her golden eyes dimming, like a sun veiled by clouds. "You can leave," she whispered. "I'll manage." The silver light pulsed in Ethan's mind, sharp as a blade. If he abandoned her, she'd die within hours, the pass falling to assassins. But the third path, protecting her, blazed bright, as if the universe demanded it. "Want to live?" he smirked, offering his hand. "Stick with me." Liora hesitated, then placed her pale blue hand in his. A jolt ran through him, not the silver light, but something primal, human, like a heartbeat in the dark. "I have a ship," she whispered, voice steadier. "Hidden in the old mining zone. If we reach it, we can get to the station." Ethan nodded, squeezing her hand, feeling their fates intertwine, a disgraced pilot and a fugitive highborn, defying a cruel universe together. They left the room, racing through rusted corridors, the silver light guiding them. The mining zone loomed like a colossal skeleton, twisted steel frames clawing at the toxic green sky. Liora pointed to a pile of scrap. "The ship's there." She tapped a wrist device, the air shimmering, revealing a sleek, black vessel, its hull absorbing light like a black hole. "Nightshade," she said, voice tinged with pride. "Stealth tech," Ethan whistled. "Experimental gear. The Kadeens have deep pockets." They climbed aboard, the clean interior a stark contrast to Klyros. Leather seats, gleaming consoles, the smell of new metal. But when Liora powered up, the panel flashed red. "Cores drained," she frowned. "Stealth ate it dry." Ethan checked his watch, cold metal on his wrist. 1 hour till dark. "The cold will kill us." Liora pointed to a map on the screen, a glowing dot 2 kilometers away. "Spare cores at the power station. We need to grab it." Ethan nodded, the silver light pulsing faintly, unclear. "Lead the way, princess," he said, voice dry but eyes sharp. They left the ship, plunging into the dark, Klyros' wind clawing their skin. The silver light throbbed, making Ethan halt, pulling Liora behind a broken steel tower. "We're not alone," he whispered. She tensed, golden eyes narrowing. "Assassins?" "No. Scavengers, 5 armed." Liora studied him, realization dawning. "Your ability. You see them." "I see fate," Ethan corrected, focusing. The silver light traced a path, imperfect but survivable. "Follow me." The power station emerged like a graveyard of machines, shattered equipment glinting under Klyros' green glow, like death's lanterns. Ethan led Liora around a transmission tower, steps silent as ghosts. They slipped into a maintenance hatch, avoiding the scavengers looting, their voices echoing, brutal, ravenous. Inside, dim green light illuminated empty shelves, walls stained with rust. "Spare cores in the secure vault," Liora whispered, pointing to a steel door. Ethan nodded, the silver light guiding them through the dark. The scavengers' arguments, over loot, over the firestorm, thickened the air. Ethan and Liora pressed into a shadowed corner, breaths held. Liora opened the vault with her device, movements swift, precise. The door hissed, revealing a small, glowing green core, like Klyros' beating heart. "Got it," she whispered, disconnecting it. But the door slammed shut, locking tight. A cold voice cut through a speaker, sharp as a blade. "Well, look what we have here. A Kadeen and Ethan Holt, the runaway pilot?" Ethan's heart clenched, recognizing the voice. "Drake Vaughn," he growled. "Ex-intelligence officer, now a bounty hunter." A dry laugh rang out, metallic. "Business is business, Holt. Today's special, a Haven pass and a Highborn as a bonus." Liora tensed, clutching the core. Ethan felt the silver light pulse, but it warped, signaling greater danger. "Drake's not alone," he whispered. Liora nodded, golden eyes blazing, like steel in fire. "He doesn't want the pass," she said, voice low. "He wants to destroy the station." Drake's voice echoed through the speaker, icy. "Haven Station is humanity's last fortress, but it'll burn, Kadeen. Your pass is the key to breach it, and I work for those who want it, Ash." Ethan frowned, pieces falling into place. Not just a bounty hunter, Drake was a pawn of a hidden faction, and Liora's pass was a weapon. The room shook, steel locks grinding. Liora lunged to a maintenance panel, ripping it open, revealing a narrow vent. "Emergency exit," she said, voice sharp. She slipped in first, core strapped to her side, her slim form gliding through the dark. Ethan followed, the vent's tight walls scraping his shoulders. Drake's voice echoed. "You can't run forever, Holt." They crawled through, cold metal biting their skin. Ethan felt the silver light dim, as if fate tested him. "He knows more than he's saying," Liora whispered, voice trembling slightly. "About the pass, about Mira." Ethan gritted his teeth. "Spill it, what are you hiding?" She paused, turning to him, golden eyes glowing in the dark. "Myra's not just infected," she said, voice low, like a confession. "She's the key to grey dust. A failed experiment of my father's." Ethan froze, but metal clanged. The vent's door was being breached. "Explain later," he growled, pushing her forward. They burst out, hitting hard ground, Klyros' toxic green light glaring down like judgment. Nightshade loomed ahead, but scavenger footsteps and Drake's laser fire echoed close. Ethan pulled Liora to run, the silver light guiding, but it pulsed wildly. Time was running out, and fate hadn't chosen a victor. The narrow vent scraped Ethan Holt's shoulders, cold metal biting like a blade. Liora Kadeen crawled ahead, the power core strapped to her side, its green glow casting her as a wraith in the dark. They burst onto an outdoor staircase, Klyros' wind howling like demons, carrying metallic dust that stung their skin. Alarms wailed, red light staining the desert blood red. The temperature plummeted, breath turning to frost on Ethan's goggles. 30 minutes before the cold kills us," Liora said, voice sharp, golden eyes scanning the dark. Ethan nodded, the silver light pulsing in his mind, guiding them to the nightshade. But distant beams, headlights from terrain vehicles, sliced through the desert. Drake and his crew, hounds on the scent of blood. They raced across jagged terrain, cracked stone crumbling underfoot, twisted steel frames of the mining zone rising like a monster's bones. The nightshade loomed, its camouflage fading, black holes swallowing light like a black hole. But 3 of Drake's mercenaries blocked their path, laser rifles glowing red, stances primed to kill. Ethan pulled Liora behind a pile of machinery, rusted iron scraping his hands. "They've got us surrounded," she whispered, breath ragged, eyes blazing like steel. "How'd they find the ship?" "Landing trace," Ethan guessed, scanning the desert. The silver light flared, but options were grim: die by laser or be captured. A brighter thread, thin, perilous, flashed. "I've got a plan," he said, voice low. "You won't like it." "Spit it out," Liora replied, voice steady, though her hands gripped the core tightly. Ethan met her gaze, seeing fire in those golden eyes, not the frail highborn he'd expected. "I make a mess," he said. "You install the core. If I'm late, you take off." Insane. She countered, eyes narrowing. If I'm late, you're hauling a pretty corpse. Leora's smile was small but sharp, a dagger in the dark. Pretty? Focus, princess. Ethan snapped, but his heart warmed, an odd feeling in the dead desert. He rummaged through the machinery, finding cables and an old auxiliary core. The silver light guided his hands, triggering a small explosion. Boom! Black smoke billowed, green flames licking the desert, obscuring the mercenaries' view. Leora sprinted to the ship, her shadow gliding through smoke like a specter. Ethan faced the mercenaries, the silver light leading. The first, a hulking man with a mechanical arm, fired a laser. Ethan rolled, dodging the bolt, slamming his fist into the man's throat, hearing bones snap. The second, faster, drew a dagger. Ethan locked his arm, smashing his head into steel, blood splattering the ground. But the third struck from behind, an electric baton slamming into Ethan's back. Pain seared, like fire in his bones. He collapsed, vision blurring. Drake wants you alive. The man growled, raising his gun. But accidents happen. The air shimmered. The nightshade hovered, its precise laser turning the man to ash. Leora stood at the hatch, hand outstretched, golden eyes bright as stars. Need a ride, pilot? Ethan grinned, weak but genuine, grabbing her hand. Her strength pulled him up, surprisingly steady. They dove into the ship, the hatch slamming shut. Leora slid into the pilot's seat, hands dancing over the controls like a performer. The nightshade shuddered, rocketing upward, dodging fire from Drake's vehicles. Laser bolts screamed past, scorching the air. Leora weaved, evading every threat, movements fluid as water. Where'd you learn to fly? Ethan asked, slumping into the co-pilot's seat, wiping blood from his lip. My father taught me. She replied, eyes locked on the screen, banking through a barrage. After my mother died in the first firestorm. Her voice was low, a blade through memory. Ethan watched her, seeing pain in those golden eyes, but also steel. They broke atmosphere, Klyros shrinking to a smoldering, toxic ember below. Far ahead, Haven's station glimmered, a city suspended among stars, the last hope, or the final trap. Our salvation. Leora whispered, voice laced with hope and fear. Ethan eyed the station, conflicted. Yours. Ours, she corrected, turning to him, eyes blazing. I promised to get you there, as my protector. Ethan gave a bitter laugh, voice rough. Your father approve of a scrap pilot with Princess Kadeen? Leora touched the pass on her neck, its metallic glow dimming. My father only cares about Kadeen blood, she said, voice sharp. This pass isn't for Mira. It's for the one who carries on the legacy. Ethan narrowed his eyes, the silver light pulsing, hinting at a larger secret. Explain. Leora took a breath, as if bracing for a plunge into a black hole. Mira isn't just infected with gray dust, she said, voice low, trembling slightly. She's its source. A failed experiment by my father, to make humans immune to firestorms. Ethan froze, pieces clicking into place. Gray dust wasn't just a plague, it was a weapon, and the Kadeens were its forge. You're not just running from assassins, he said, voice deep as the desert. I'm running from being a tool. Leora replied, eyes locking onto his, steel meeting steel. And you showed me something else. Silence fell, broken only by the nightshade's hum. Leora touched his cheek, her skin warm, soft as starlight. Ethan felt her pulse, fast but steady, matching his own. The moment shattered as alarms blared, red across the console. Haven Station Patrol. A robotic voice announced. Identify yourselves. Leora inhaled, hand leaving his face. This is Liora Kadeen, she replied, voice a forced calm. Requesting access. The station responded, I see. Confirmed. Senator Kale Kadeen notified. Proceed to Bay 9. Ethan tensed, the silver light dimming, signaling danger. Too easy, he said, voice low. Leora met his gaze, eyes resolute, but her hands gripped the seat tightly. Nothing's easy, she replied. The real fight starts when we dock. The nightshade sped toward the station, its city lights blazing, but Ethan sensed the darkness behind, Drake, gray dust, and a deeper plot. The silver light pulsed faintly, as if fate mocked them. "Trust your father?" he asked, voice rough. Liora didn't answer, only stared at the station, golden eyes burning like a flame defying the cosmos. The Nightshade docked at Haven Station, a glittering city adrift in the void, the last beacon in a crumbling universe. The docking bay glowed starkly, unnervingly clean, polished steel walls reflecting Ethan Holt's weary face. A squad of guards bearing the Kadeen crest, a golden star etched on their chests, surrounded them, laser rifles aimed, eyes cold as machines. Liora Kadeen stood before Ethan, her slim frame rigid, like steel facing a storm. "Welcome home, daughter." A deep voice cut through, sharp as a blade through metal. Senator Kale Kadeen stepped forward, hair black like Liora's, face chiseled like stone, his highborn cloak shimmering with golden medals of power. His eyes swept over her, devoid of warmth, then flicked to Ethan like he was refuse. Liora stiffened, hand clutching the pass at her neck. "Father, I've caused trouble," she said, voice low, tinged with fear but defiant. Kale ignored Ethan, eyes locked on her. "Stealing a ship, running into Firestorm territory, bringing excess baggage," he said, voice cold, a judgment from a god. "He saved me," Liora retorted, stepping forward, shielding Ethan. "Luck," Kale said, lips curling with disdain. "Lock him in quarantine." Guards advanced, rifle butts hissing. Ethan tensed, the silver light pulsing in his mind, but distorted, like static. "No!" Liora blocked their path, golden eyes blazing like fire. "He stays with me." Kale raised an eyebrow, a flicker of surprise vanishing quickly. "Myra's infected," he said, voice lower, "casting suspicion on our family before the council. But I have a solution." Ethan caught fragments through the silver light, like whispers from the grave. "Gene recombination program. Wakened are perfect specimens." Liora paled, hands trembling. "You'd use us as lab rats?" she roared, voice breaking, a dagger in the dark. Kale stared, unblinking. "I'm saving humanity," he said, as if it were the only truth. An invisible force gripped Ethan, locking his body, pain like bones snapping. "Don't resist," Kale said, voice icy. "It only hurts more." Liora screamed, lunging, but guards yanked her back, her hands clawing air. Ethan was dragged through a cold corridor, polished steel reflecting blood from old wounds. The silver light surged, not just predicting, it was reality, malleable. He focused, seeing threads of light weaving like a web of fate. Pain tore his skull, but he bent a thread, thin as a blade. The force field collapsed, guards dropping, unconscious before they could fire. Alarms wailed, smoke flooding the corridor, red lights pulsing like blood. Ethan sprinted to the bay, feet slipping on the floor, the silver light guiding. He found Liora, grappling with two guards, black hair wild, golden eyes bright as stars. One raised a rifle, ready to fire. Ethan bent reality, pain like a knife in his brain. The gun jammed, the bay door locked, guards collapsing like puppets. Liora ran to him, embracing him, hands trembling as they touched blood on his face. "You're bleeding," she gasped, voice cracking. "I bent reality," Ethan panted, head spinning. "Can't control it." She gripped his hand, pulling him through smoke, past screaming alarms. They dove into a small bay, where a research ship, small, old, but alive, waited. Liora slid into the pilot's seat, hands dancing over controls, swift as a dance. The ship shuddered, but docking clamps held, grinding like breaking bones. Ethan focused, the silver light flaring faint. He bent a final thread, pain ripping his chest like a crushed heart. The clamps released, the ship rocketing into space, Haven Station shrinking to a speck. Ethan collapsed, darkness swallowing him, blood dripping from his nose. Liora screamed his name, but her voice faded, like a star dissolving. He woke, head pounding like a hammer, the smell of metal and sweat stinging his nose. Liora sat beside him, golden eyes wet with worry, her hand clutching his, cold but steady. "You're alive?" she whispered, voice trembling. The research ship hummed faintly, consoles flickering weakly. But an invisible force yanked the ship, like a monster's claws. Alarms blared, red across the screens. The display lit up, showing Drake Vaughn's face, his scarred cheek gleaming under harsh light. "Thought you'd escape me, Holt?" He laughed, voice sharp as a blade. "Haven Station is mine, and grey dust will be the final weapon." Ethan narrowed his eyes, pieces falling into place. Grey dust wasn't just a scourge, it was a bioweapon, and Liora Kadeen was its architect. "Your hunter ship," Ethan growled, voice rough. "Kadeen Tech." Drake's laugh was dry. "Kale thinks he runs the game, but I've got a bigger card. Kadeen's pass is the key, and her." He pointed at Liora. "She's the prize." Liora gripped Ethan's hand, golden eyes blazing defiance. "You don't have the station," she said, voice sharp. "And you don't have me." Ethan felt the silver light, weak but flickering, like an unquenched flame. "Find a way out," he whispered, head spinning. Liora nodded, hands flying over the controls, searching for a flaw in the tractor beam. The ship shook, metal groaning. Ethan stared at Drake, seeing the Predator's smile, but also his mistake, overconfidence. "You want grey dust," Ethan said, voice low. "But you don't know what it is." Drake's eyes narrowed, but he didn't reply. Liora whispered, "My father made it to rebirth humanity. But it's uncontrollable." Ethan froze, the silver light pulsing, revealing a fragile path, not survival, but destroying Drake and Kale's plans. The hunter's ship tightened its grip, the tractor beam intensifying. Liora weaved, dodging laser bolts, but the engines groaned, near death. Ethan focused, the silver light flaring, but each reality bend was a knife in his skull. "Save her," he muttered, not to Liora, but to himself. She looked at him, golden eyes burning like a final flame. "Save us," she corrected, hand squeezing his. The ship shuddered, the void outside pitch black, but Haven Station's lights still glimmered, a false promise. Ethan knew the fight wasn't over, and grey dust was the monster they had to slay, or be consumed by it. The void swallowed the research ship, its engines whining like a dying beast. Ethan woke, head throbbing like a hammer, dried blood crusting his lips. Liora sat beside him, hands dancing over the controls, golden eyes burning like flames in the night. "This ship won't get us far," she whispered, voice sharp. "We need the Nightshade." They landed in a hidden bay near Haven Station, where the Nightshade lay dormant, its black hull drinking starlight. Liora repaired the power core, hands moving like a dancer's, but Ethan felt the silver light dim, like a fading heartbeat. "They'll find us," he muttered, voice rough, gripping the seat. Liora nodded, eyes locked on the screen, not meeting his gaze. "Then we move faster." The Nightshade shuddered, launching into the void, but red lights flashed, Drake's hunter ship, a hound on the scent. The Nightshade shook, metal groaning under the hunter's tractor beam. Drake Vaughn laughed on the screen, scars gleaming like blades under the light. Liora Kadeen piloted, hands gliding over controls, dodging lasers tearing through the cosmic dark. "He's using Kadeen's power core," she growled, golden eyes blazing fury, like a star burning in a black hole. Ethan Holt gripped the seat, blood dripping from his nose, the silver light flaring in his mind, but each reality bend was a dagger in his skull. "Hold the ship," he said, voice rough, focusing. The silver light traced a path, thin as a blade. He bent it, pain ripping his chest. The hunter's targeting system screeched, malfunctioning, lasers missing their mark. The Nightshade dove into an asteroid belt, cosmic rocks spinning like reapers' scythes. Darkness enveloped them, only the clatter of stones against the hull, like breaking bones. Liora killed the engines, letting the ship drift, hidden among the rocks. Ethan checked the damage, hull torn, engines coughing, but alive. "We've got time," he said, wiping blood from his lip. Liora sat, hands trembling, golden eyes dimming. "My father didn't just create grey dust," she whispered, voice ablade through memory. "He meant to use it to purge humanity, sparing only those with Wakened genes. Like you?" Ethan froze, the silver light pulsing distorted. I'm not special, he growled, but she grabbed his hand, her blue skin cold but firm. You're his creation, Liora said, eyes locked on his. A Wakened, born in a Kadeen lab, not by chance. Ethan reeled, like a laser bolt through his chest. Hazy memories, syringes, white lights, humming machines, flooded back, sharp as knives. I'm not human, he whispered, voice breaking, fists clenching. Liora pulled him close, her hand warm on his cheek. You're more human than anyone I know, she said, voice trembling but certain, like a flame that wouldn't die. Ethan met her gaze, seeing gold in her eyes, not highborn, but human, like him, whatever he was. Alarms shattered the moment. A ship emerged in the belt, not Drake's. Cora alive, her red hair bright as blood, leading mercenaries on a raider ship. Holt! Her voice crackled over the comms, sharp as a whetted blade. You owe me a life. Ethan tensed, the silver light flaring, revealing Cora's alliance with Drake, not just for credits, but revenge. She'd loved him once, fought beside him, but the fleet's final battle, when Ethan survived and she was left behind, turned her into a demon. The raider fired, lasers turning rocks to dust. Liora leaped to the pilot's seat, igniting the nightshade, dodging rocks and bolts, but the engines groaned, near death. An explosion rocked the ship, hull tearing open. Cora and her mercenaries boarded, lasers glowing red. Ethan pulled Liora behind the console, the silver light guiding. A mercenary fired, a laser grazing Liora's shoulder, blue blood splattering the wall. She screamed, collapsing, clutching the wound. Ethan roared, the silver light blazing. He bent reality, pain like his brain tearing, making bullets miss, guns jam. He lunged, dropping a mercenary with a punch, bones cracking. Cora appeared, dagger flashing, eyes red with fury. You chose her, she snarled, striking. Ethan dodged, locking her arm, slamming her into the wall. She laughed, blood dripping from her lip. Drake will kill you both. Ethan bent reality again, the deck shaking, flinging Cora into an open airlock. She screamed, sucked into the void, vanishing among the rocks. But the cost was steep. Ethan collapsed, blood streaming from his eyes, the silver light fading. Liora, trembling, pulled him up, her blue blood soaking her suit. Ship's dead, she whispered, voice faint. Ethan checked, engines fried, air dwindling. Escape pod, he said, dragging her through the corridor, smoke and flames licking the floor. They dove into the pod, a coffin-sized box, launching it. The nightshade exploded behind, debris scattering like meteors. The pod hurtled toward Ganymede, Jupiter's icy moon, where Kale had a secret base. They crashed in a blizzard, the pod groaning, shattering. Ethan supported Liora, her strength fading, blue skin paling. He touched her arm, feeling metallic veins spreading, gray dust contracted from Mira, consuming her. No, he growled, voice breaking, like a blade in his chest. Liora gripped his hand, weak but resolute. Save me, she whispered, golden eyes dimming. Even if it means killing my father. Ethan swore, the silver light flickering, a final flame. I will, he said, holding her, Ganymede's eyes clawing their skin. Kale's base loomed, a steel fortress in the snow, red lights glowing like demon eyes. They staggered forward, blizzard winds howling like curses. Ethan felt the gray dust in Liora, a darkness mirroring his own, as Kale's creation, born of mad ambition. The silver light pulsed, showing a fragile path. Confront Kale, or both die. You're why I fight, he whispered, unsure if she heard. Liora squeezed his hand, faint but enough to know she lived. The base's doors opened, red light swallowing them, like a monster's maw. Ethan stepped inside, the silver light guiding, though each step was a blade. He wasn't human, but for Liora, he'd fight like one. Ganymede was a frozen desert, snow sharp as blades clawing at Ethan Holt's skin as he carried Liora Kadeen through the blizzard. She was heavy in his arms, her blue skin pale, gray dust spreading like metallic webs beneath it. The Kadeen base loomed, a steel fortress buried in ice, red lights glowing like demon eyes. Ethan kicked the door open, the howling wind at his back carrying the chill of death. Inside, the corridor was dim, walls stained with rust, the stench of burned metal stinging his nose. He laid Liora on a steel table in an abandoned lab, dust coating broken syringes, cracked screens, and vials of glowing green liquid. This was the forge of grey dust, where nightmares were born. Ethan activated a console, its screen flickering to life, displaying gene charts and experimental serums. A voice echoed, not mechanical but human, soft yet sharp. "Welcome, Wakened." A woman's hologram appeared, black hair, golden eyes, eerily like Liora. "I am Eidolon, guardian of this base." Ethan tensed, the silver light pulsing in his mind, distorted as if strangled. "Where's Kale?" he growled, gripping the table's edge. "Senator Kale has departed," Eidolon replied, her voice mournful as Ganymede's wind. "He's gone to Dark Station, where grey dust will be unleashed across the cosmos." Liora moaned softly, her hand trembling, metal creeping toward her neck. Ethan scanned the room for a cure, but Eidolon continued. "Grey dust can be neutralized," she said, her image wavering. "But it requires a Wakened to act as a vessel, drawing it from her and destroying it. The cost is your life." Ethan froze, the silver light flashing, revealing a path of death. He'd dissolve, Liora would live. "No other way?" he asked, voice rough. Eidolon's golden eyes, so like Liora's, met his. "None, unless you bend reality beyond your limits. But you're not strong enough." Ethan gritted his teeth, memories of labs, syringes, blinding lights, stabbing his mind. He was Kale's creation, not human, but Liora was why he fought. Eidolon blinked, her image glitching. "I'm not just AI," she said, voice breaking. "I'm Liora's mother's consciousness, uploaded after dying in a grey dust experiment." Ethan reeled, glancing at Liora, seeing her mother's features, golden eyes, black hair. "Save her," Eidolon pleaded, voice trembling like a living soul. "Kale took me from her. Don't let him take Liora too." Ethan nodded, the silver light surging, though pain sliced his brain like a blade. He rummaged through shelves, finding a vial of experimental serum, green liquid, glowing like a firestorm. "It'll slow grey dust," Eidolon said. "But it'll destabilize your Wakened abilities." Ethan injected the serum into Liora's arm, the needle piercing her skin, her soft groan echoing. The metal under her skin halted, but her eyes remained dim. Reality around Ethan warped, the steel table vibrated, lights flickered, as if the universe protested. The silver light flared, unclear, like a flame in a storm. "She needs time," he muttered, pulling her close, her warmth the only thing keeping him grounded. Eidolon pointed to a rear bay. "A small ship, enough to reach Dark Station. Kale must be stopped." Ethan nodded, carrying Liora through the corridor, ice scraping his skin through torn clothes. The ship bay was a crypt, littered with broken machinery. The small ship, old steel hull, coughing engines, sat amid dust. Ethan set Liora in the co-pilot's seat, checking systems. The engines whined but lived. He patched cables, hands trembling, the silver light flashing, showing mistakes before he made them. A wrong wire, the ship explodes. "Thanks," he muttered, unsure if to the light or Eidolon. Liora stirred, voice faint. "My mother," she whispered, golden eyes flickering, like rediscovered stars. "She loved me, even after Kale turned her into a machine." Ethan took her hand, cold but alive. "She's still here," he said, voice rough. "And so are you." Liora spoke, her voice a blade through memory. "My mother taught me to fly, to defy my father. When she died, I swore to protect Mira." She looked at him, eyes blazing. "You're not an experiment. You're my choice." Ethan froze, heart clenching, not pain but something else, like fire and ice. "You're why I don't quit," he said, voice low, honest. Liora's smile was faint but sharp, a dagger in the dark. The ship rumbled, launching through ice, shattering Ganymede's crust, heading for Dark Station. The void was pitch black, only faint stars. Ethan felt the silver light, unstable, flickering on and off like a dying pulse. Grey dust, in Liora and himself, was Kale's curse. But Liora, though weak, gripped his hand, an anchor in the vacuum. "We'll stop him," she said, voice trembling but steel. Ethan nodded, the silver light flashing, revealing Dark Station, a fortress among stars, where Kale waited, and grey dust poised to devour the cosmos. The ship surged, engines groaning, but Ethan wasn't afraid. Not human, but for Liora, he'd bend reality, whatever the cost. Dark Station hung in Jupiter's shadow, a cold steel fortress, red lights glinting like demon eyes. Ethan Holt and Liora Kadeen's small ship slipped through a dust ring, evading radar, landing in an abandoned bay. Inside, corridors were dark, severed cables spilling like broken veins, the stench of burned metal stinging their noses. Liora, still weak, her blue skin glistening with sweat, gripped Ethan's hand, golden eyes burning like a final flame. "Kale's here," she whispered, voice trembling but sharp. Ethan nodded, the silver light flashing in his mind, distorted, like a lamp before a storm. "He won't escape," he said, leading her through the dark, a laser pistol from the Ganymede base cold in his hand. Mercenaries patrolled, armor bearing Kadeen's crest, rifles glowing red. Ethan pulled Liora behind a steel crate, the silver light guiding. A laser trap sliced across, scorching the floor black. Ethan bent reality, pain like a knife in his brain, jamming the laser, dropping a guard with a punch, bones cracking. Liora fired, precise, felling another, but her breasts were ragged, grey dust spreading like metallic webs under her skin. "Save your strength," Ethan growled, pulling her through the corridor, dodging cameras and motion mines, the silver light pulsing, warning of death's approach. The central core opened, a steel crypt, a grey dust reactor glowing toxic green, like a monster's heart. Senator Kale Kadeen stood at its center, his highborn cloak torn, black eyes gleaming like black holes. "You can't stop it," he said, voice deep, a judgment from a god. "Humanity must be reborn. Only the strongest survive." Liora roared, lunging, but Kale raised a hand, an invisible force gripping her, wrenching her from Ethan. He bent reality, pain like snapping bones, making the reactor tremble, its green glow dimming, but Kale's force was stronger, slamming Ethan to the floor, cold steel scraping his skin. Kale laughed, his eyes flashing silver, like Ethan's. "Think you're special?" he said, voice sharp as a blade. "I'm awakened too, but I control minds." A pressure stabbed Ethan's skull, like fiery needles. Images of Liora, golden eyes, blue blood, became a target. "Kill her," Kale whispered, voice slithering into his mind, bending his will. Ethan raised his gun, hands shaking, the silver light flickering weakly, but Liora's golden eyes, blazing like fire, pulled him back. "Ethan!" she screamed, voice breaking, an anchor in the storm. His feelings, her warmth, their vow on Ganymede, shattered Kale's control. He roared, firing wide, the bolt singeing Kale's hair. Liora lunged, dagger flashing, stabbing Kale's shoulder. He screamed, his force weakening, collapsing. Ethan crawled up, blood dripping from his eyes, the silver light blazing. "For her," he muttered, bending reality one last time, pain like the universe tearing apart. The reactor screeched, cracking, grey dust energy spilling out, green as a firestorm. Ethan raised his hand, the silver light channeling it into him, metal spreading under his skin, corroding his bones. "Run!" he roared, shoving Liora through the corridor, green flames licking the floor. She screamed his name, dragging him to the small ship, the hatch slamming as Dark Station quaked. The ship launched, Dark Station exploding behind, debris scattering like meteors. Ethan collapsed, his body dissolving, skin cracking, blood turning to metallic dust. Liora held him, tears streaming down her cheeks, hot against his cold skin. "Don't," she whispered, voice breaking, hands gripping, as if to keep him from the void. Ethan felt grey dust within, a monster devouring the silver light. But she, golden eyes, warmth, was his final flame. He focused, pain shredding his soul, bending reality once more. The ship's engines, dead from the blast, hummed, a new green glowing core, not grey dust, but something he forged from himself. Find a new world, Ethan whispered, voice faint, like Ganymede's wind. For us. Liora nodded, tears falling, golden eyes bright as a vow. I will, she said, holding him, though he could no longer feel. The silver light faded, darkness enveloping, but Ethan wasn't afraid. He saw Liora, soaring through stars, seeking a place free of grey dust, free of Kale. Not human, but for her, he'd conquered the cosmos. The ship sped into the void, engines humming, carrying Liora to the future. She stared through the window, stars glinting, hands still clutching Ethan's though it was cold. Grey dust took him, but not her. A new world, she muttered, voice trembling but steel, a flame unquenched. Dark Station was dust, Kale a memory, but Ethan, pilot, Wakened, the man she chose, was her guiding star, forever. The small ship hurtled through the void, Dark Station's debris glinting like meteors behind. Liora held Ethan, his body cold, crumbling to metallic dust, like sand slipping through her fingers. Don't, she whispered, hot tears on her cheeks, but he only smiled, silver eyes flickering one last time. The ship shuddered, engines whining, crash landing on Ganymede, ice scraping its steel hull. Liora dragged an escape pod from the wreckage, staggering through the blizzard, winds howling like curses. She built a shelter, hands trembling, blue blood seeping through cuts, each hammer strike a blade in her heart. Ethan was gone, but she felt faint pulses in her womb, 2 lives, his legacy, the flame keeping her alive. She collapsed, darkness swallowing, but Jupiter's stars flickered, like Ethan's promise. Find a new world. Ganymede woke under dim light, ice glinting like shattered glass beneath Jupiter's sky. Liora Kadeen opened her eyes in a shelter, a steel shell salvaged from the escape pod, perched precariously in the frozen desert. The air was dry, heavy with metal, but she lived, grey dust gone, like shadows melting under starlight. She touched her womb, feeling faint pulses, 2 tiny lives, Ethan Holt's legacy, the man who bent reality to save her, to save them. Pain stabbed her chest, not grey dust, but memory, sharp as a blade through ice. She stood, torn coat dusted with frost, stepping from the shelter. Ganymede was a dead world, snow cutting her skin, but Liora saw potential, a beginning, as Ethan promised. She rummaged through the pod, finding a seed bank, a small steel box holding humanity's hope, wheat, beans, wildflowers. Under a weak energy lamp, she dug frozen soil, hard as steel, hands trembling but resolute. The first green sprouts, small as whispers, broke through ice, vibrant amid the white cold. Liora knelt, touching a leaf, like touching Ethan, a miracle, defying a cruel universe. She built a small garden, day by day, using pod equipment to melt ice for water, recycle air for oxygen. Each sprout was a victory, each drop a vow. She gazed at Jupiter, its red storms swirling like a god's eye, and whispered, "We did it, Ethan! A new start!" Her voice trembled, but not weak, steel, forged in Klyros fires, Dark Station's fall, and loss. She touched her womb, feeling 2 pulses stronger, like the flame Ethan left. "Our children," she murmured, golden eyes bright as stars, "will see a world without grey dust." A blizzard rose, winds howling like demons, but Liora didn't fear. She reinforced the shelter, welding steel with pod tools, hands calloused, blue blood seeping through cuts. She remembered Ethan, his dry laugh, silver eyes, the way he bent reality knowing the cost. "You weren't an experiment," she said, as if he could hear, voice echoing in the empty shelter. She found a comms device, its screen cracked but alive. She repaired it, hands dancing over cables, like piloting the nightshade. A faint signal flared, static clearing, like a heartbeat from the grave. The screen lit, Ethan's voice crackling, rough but real, recorded before grey dust claimed him. "If you hear this, you found home," he said, voice trembling, like Ganymede's wind. "Reality isn't fixed, Liora. Bend it like I did." Liora froze, tears streaming, hot on cold skin. She touched the screen, like touching him, seeing his eyes, silver, not machine, but human. "I will," she whispered, voice breaking, but steel. The message looped, fading, then died, like a star dissolving. She placed a hand on her womb, feeling 2 pulses, like Ethan's reply. She returned to the garden, the blizzard easing, Jupiter's light piercing clouds, making sprouts glow like tiny flames. Liora knelt, digging, planting more seeds, each a vow, for Ethan, their children, humanity. The universe, cruel, took Klyros, Haven's station, and Ethan, but not her. She was highborn, pilot, mother, and above all, human, like Ethan, despite his doubts. She recalled his words. Find a new world. For us. Ganymede wasn't the end, but the first step. She'd build a world, not just for her children, but for the lost, like they once were. She stood, gazing at the stars, hand on her womb. 2 pulses grew stronger, like Ethan's heartbeat, hers entwined. Reality isn't fixed, she murmured, echoing him, voice sharp as a blade. She'd bend it, not with silver light, but with green sprouts, love, will. Another signal flickered from the comms, not Ethan's, but an unknown frequency, distant, like a call from a lost ship. Leora's eyes narrowed, gold blazing, an unquenched flame. She smiled, small but resolute, like a sprout breaking ice. The universe could be cruel, but humanity, like her, like Ethan, always found a way to rewrite fate.